皆さんまた来てくださってありがとうございます。ということで今日は地獄のラップトップアイザックさんその2をお送りします。3つに分けることにしたので今日は2です。それではアイザックさんどうぞ。
And yeah, he's basically this agent never gave him his name. Kind of questioned why my father was being cagey. When my father explained the situation and an effort to attain some level of protection for me, the FBI agent was like, "Well, unless there's a criminal activity going on, we can't." And he goes, "Well, drug use and prostitution is a criminal activity." And the guys looked at the paperwork some more, and then basically was like you need to get out of this office and you need to lawyer up and don't talk to anyone about this.
What's the relationship between you and the FBI been like since that moment?
Well, after the interaction in Albuquerque, my father and I were just disenfranchised. We thought there was, we didn't know what to do. It was a month later that an FBI agent named Joshua reaches out to my father in an effort to get a hold of me, that we finally thought maybe somebody's going to take this seriously. So the FBI met with me at my home and asked me about my concerns. I voiced my concerns, and I then shifted and said, "Hey, can I just want this out of my shop at this point? Just get it out of my shop and give me a phone number I can call should somebody come looking for it or wants to harass me about it." And they're like, "Yeah, we can't do that. We're going to talk to our legal team and see what we can do." And I'm like, dying here. I just want this over and done with. Then they said they were going to come and they wanted to make a forensic clone of the drive. And I was like, well, that's going to be hard to do, but sure, whatever. You guys have the best tech guys in the world, so, let me know when you want to come in. And they agreed to come in on December 9th. When they showed up, instead of bringing a tech guy with them, they brought a subpoena. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to take everything. And I'm like, okay, great. Take it all. This is exactly what I wanted in the first place. And so I gave him the drive, I gave him the laptop, I gave him the paperwork, and then they gave me a lot of things to sign, and I got my first subpoena, and then I don't know, I was a bit uncomfortable, a little nervous, but then excited at the same time, so I kind of cracked a joke. I said, don't worry, lads, when I write the book, I'll leave your names out of this. And that's when Agent Mike turned around and said, oh, it's in our experience, nothing ever happens to people that talk about these things. And I was like, great. All right, well, they're taking it, so that's something. And then they told me that should anybody come looking for it, you should stall them, tell them it's off-site, and then give us a call, and we'll return it. And then that threw up another red flag, because in my mind, this is going to be put in an evidence envelope and then sent to a lab somewhere outside of D.C., so how could it be easily returned? So, and then a couple weeks after that was December 9th, I think a couple weeks after that, I got a call from Agent Mike, who also said only communicate from that point on through text messaging with him only. He's the only agent that I'm allowed to talk to moving forward, but he's also the only agent that wasn't on any of the paperwork. So he's kind of the bag man, I assumed. But he checked on me, and I said nobody had come in to look for it. He seemed surprised. And then that was the last I heard of the FBI.
This was when? What year?
This was
December
of 2019.
So I got to ask you, John Paul, if you wanted this, and you said your father reached out in October of 2019 in Albuquerque. If you wanted this out of your possession so desperately, I believe it legally came into your possession as your property in the summer of 2017.
Well, Hunter's lawyer said Hunter dropped it off in 2017. He dropped it off in 2019. Hunter didn't even remember when he dropped it off. The Hunter's lawyer thought he dropped it off in 2017.
Oh.
So I was like, all right, this guy's all over the map. He doesn't remember.
I see. So you held on to the laptop for a couple of months before reaching out to the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. Let's go directly to it because you did bring it up. Are you a Russian asset? Are you perpetuating Russian disinformation?
Yet, comrade. I mean, the GSB is putting out things like this, then I don't think we have anything to worry about from Putin if this is what they're training their agents to look like. I just think it's the irony. Like my family, from the entirety that they've been in this country, okay, my grandfather came to this country fought in World War II, fought in Korea, fought in Vietnam as a pilot in the Army Air Corps and the United States Air Force. My father fought during the latter part of the Cold War. So for the entire Cold War, there have been Mac Isaacs flying planes going after communists. And to be accused of being one of those communists or even playing a part in that is just absurd to me. Now, the thing that bothers me about that, because I brush it off, but everybody else thinks that I contributed or I worked with a foreign power to help affect the outcome of an election. I mean, people associate that with traitorous activities, and I've been labeled a traitor because of that. And to have a family name that has served bravely and proudly in this country's military for so long, have that tagline traitor next to it is just, I'll fight like hell to prevent that from happening. I'll tell you that.
I can understand, especially when what you're doing in many's estimation is an act of patriotism, sharing potential corruption that should be investigated within the United States government. On that note of being called a traitor, of trafficking in Russian disinformation, you have sued Politico, the Daily Beast, CNN, and Congressman Adam Schiff for sullying your good name, for slander. Tell me about that lawsuit.
Well, I went after Twitter originally because they labeled me a hacker. And if I was ever going to start up any kind of computer repair business again, having the title hacker is more, to me at that time, more devastating than being labeled a Russian asset, which was just ridiculous. So I went after Twitter, and they switched judges with an Obama-appointed judge, and she threw the case out with prejudice and awarded Twitter the Florida slap statue. So I was basically wiped off the map. I was
you're
destroyed.
Right. The original accusation was that it was hacked material.
Yeah, Twitter's accusation. Twitter didn't say I was a Russian. Twitter said that it was hacked material, ergo I was a hacker. Whereas Hunter gave me his password. Usually hackers don't get the privilege of having the owner give them their password. That's not hacking at that point. That's just accessing. So it was ridiculous, but it had on a career standpoint, being labeled a hacker is a death sentence. Twitter wanted to make an example out of me, so they punished me in the courts and financially, and I never thought I would have an opportunity to defend my actions or hold those accountable again. That's one reason why I sat down and I wrote my book, because I knew that in the court of law I was destroyed, but maybe I still had a chance in the court of public opinion. Turns out that about a month ago, Joe Flynn, General Flynn's brother, from the America Project, approached my attorney and wanted to fund our lawsuits. So I now have a second chance to hold these people accountable, and I'm going to fight like hell to do it.
In any type of defamation suit, you have to prove damages, and you have paid a price, right?
Yeah, I lost my business. I was forced out of my state for about a year. I've been singled out by the IRS. I was denied unemployment.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you lost your business. Mm-hmm. Well, how were you forced out of your state?
I was getting too many death threats. It was no longer safe for me to be in Delaware.
You've been audited by the IRS?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they looked back. They found $58 last September. $58 from 2016. So I guess I've been okay on my taxes, but.
And you've been denied unemployment?
Yep, I was denied unemployment for a year, even though my business paid into unemployment for 10 years, and this was exactly what unemployment was there for. I started applying for it in December of 2020, and it took me writing a letter to Chris Coons saying I would hate to see a state agency politically motivated like this, so can you please tell me what's going on? Magically, a couple days later, I got a phone call, and then I started getting checks, but not all of it, but it was enough to keep me going. But you shouldn't have to do that.
John Paul, what do you think about the institutions of the United States government? I would imagine you have a perspective now that is informed by some of the stuff that you saw on the laptop, but also now the experience that you've endured in the wake of exposing what was on the laptop. You have just labeled or told me that numerous government institutions from state unemployment offices to the IRS to the FBI, have all taken, let's put it this way, a very clear position when it comes to you.
Yeah.
What do you think of the institutions of the United States of America?
Well, call it a naive repairman's point of view, but I think that sometimes you got to let things fail before you can have the opportunity to fix them. And I think that this is a case for that. I believe in the FBI. I didn't trust the FBI. The FBI is broken. They demonstrate that. But I still believe that the system is there for a purpose and it's the right course of action. It was the right decision. I didn't want to go to the press. I didn't want to go to media because I didn't feel like that was what had to be done. That wasn't the proper channel. If the FBI had done their job, I would have still had my business. The world would never have known I existed if the FBI had done their job right. So, obviously I have a bone to pick with them, but I don't think it needs to be replaced. I don't think it needs to be torn down or destroyed. I just think it's broken and it needs to be fixed.